Hello everyone and welcome to Olsem Wanem. In this edition we bring you Care PNG. Care has worked in Papua New Guinea since 1989, and since the establishment of a care office in Goroka in 2006, they have improved the quality of life of more than 13,000 people in 20 villages by addressing the challenges identified and prioritised by the communities themselves. Care also supports remote and disadvantaged areas with improved agricultural practices, water supply, education, HIV prevention and care, disaster risk management and capacity building. Today we bring you Care PNG's Integrated Development Project in Obura Wananara in the Eastern Highlands. Stay with us as we show you this very unique case study and what other districts around the nation can learn from it. The Obura Wananara district runs the full length of the eastern boundary of Eastern Highlands Province. It is comprised of 3 LLGs, Yelia in the south, Gatsup Tairora and Lamari in the north. Most people live within altitudes of 1,400 to 1,800 meters. However, there are also communities such as the Anakombe at an altitude of 1,050 meters. 4 years ago, in 2010, Care Australia collected baseline information from Yelia local level government, the most remote of the 3 LLGs in Obura Wananara district of Eastern Highlands Province, for their Integrated Community Development Project. The baseline involved surveying 262 families in the Yelia LLG on a range of issues including demographic features, nutrition and health, education, income, and a range of community issues. The main conclusions of the survey conducted were that these are very disadvantaged communities with small numbers of families earning reasonable incomes, mainly from trading small amounts of coffee. More than 60% earned less than 200 kina over the past month through coffee sales. These households indicated that this was the most significant component of their annual income. The number of households reporting income from remittances is low and peaked at 5% of households in Anakombe. This is despite the demographic breakdown showing the absence of many men of working age. There is a very high child dependency ratio of 94%. This places pressure on families to consume most of what they produce, meaning it is difficult to generate a surplus to invest in assets. Including older age groups, the overall dependency ratio rises above parity to 102% compared to the national estimate of 83.9%. Agriculture provides the majority of income, but it is vulnerable to natural disasters and there is little preparedness for these amongst communities. These communities are food insecure and have limited variety in their diets. They have limited consumption of proteins and essential fats important for good nutrition. Education levels are very low. More than 90% of those surveyed, 79% of females and 62% of males, do not have any experience of formal education. Only 27% of the population surveyed are literate, 19% of females and 30% of males. In Yelia LLG, there seems to be reasonable access to health facilities, although data is not available on the quality of health services available. Out of the sample of parents of newborns to 5-year-olds, the vast majority, 72%, had experienced traditional births with no trained birth assistants present. Infant and child mortality levels are high, with fewer than 5 mortality rates, estimated to be 191 deaths per 1,000 live births. Knowledge and understanding of HIV/AIDS is low and is placing the community at risk. According to Care Australia and the Australian National University's Development Policy Centre, this data provides detail to supplement larger national surveys on which much of the research to date has rested. Although the survey findings should not be generalized, Illustrative case studies such as this can help inform policymakers of the challenges faced by disadvantaged communities in remote rural Papua New Guinea. What we can learn from this research is that there is still much that we don't understand about the conditions faced by people living in remote rural communities in Papua New Guinea. There is also much more that we should understand about the risks and coping mechanisms of people living in remote rural places like Yelia. Remote and rural areas should not be overlooked just because they are out of sight. When we come back, CARE PNG Country Director and member for Obura Wananara share information on the progress of the Integrated Community Development Project. Stay tuned.
I think that we're very much a facilitator. It couldn't happen if there weren't those skills and that leadership, from the member in the district administration. We've got an excellent DA, Erinu Kasong there, who strongly supports the concept of bottom-up planning. We've got strong people in the LLGs, and of course leaders in the communities. So I think that CARE isn't the only group in the country to have been involved in the organic law, and others are involved in that. But we found for ourselves that it was something that could really help us to be more effective in the work that we do. We provide support, we've provided some training, but I think the most significant impacts come from the work of the communities and the government in this.
Poverty is a sensitive issue to many, but what does it mean? CARE PNG's definition of poverty in PNG involves a range of social and economic dimensions of well-being. These will often be interlinked and can include unequal participation and limited decision-making power and control of resources in society and community, limited access to services, education, health and social, poor health, nutrition and educational outcomes, insecure livelihoods, low cash income and limited access to markets, opportunities and movement limited by conflict, insecurity, poor infrastructure and environmental constraints, vulnerability to conflict, external shocks and natural disasters. How does the Integrated Community Development Project aim to change these circumstances in the rural communities?
We take quite a broad definition of poverty, and we say that it's linked to level of education, level of access to health, and things such as income, but also vital infrastructure, etc. And in the remoter rural areas of the country, there tends to be higher levels of poverty because access to these kind of things is less, and it's more challenging for people as a result. So CARE's work is, as I said earlier, to really support this process, and where priorities are identified around, say, an elementary school to improve literacy in an area, or a village court magistrate network to improve law and justice, or indeed fish farming. We try to work with the right groups that can come in and provide that support. So we try not to do it ourselves. So with the education, it's really the communities and the division of education. Or with the fish farming, there's a local NGO called Backyard Farmers who provides fingerlings and trainings to communities, and then they raise the fish and as a result improve diet and also have an income generating opportunity. And with the village court magistrate networks, it's the village court secretariat that comes in and provides support, the training and the gazetting of the village court officials, etc. So really our role is to facilitate, but all of these, improved access to all of these services does help to fight poverty, because it improves people's literacy and health and access to income and things such as that.
Education plays a key role in strengthening lives, creating opportunities, and advancing an individual and their families. In rural communities such as Obura Wananara district, access to formal and non-formal education opportunities is severely limited, and literacy rates are extremely low, particularly for girls.
In these areas, often there aren't schools functioning. In some cases there was never a school. In other cases, the school doesn't continue to function. Perhaps there aren't teachers, or there isn't school buildings, etc. But one of the things that came through very strongly in the ward planning process was the desire of people to have access to education, both in terms of adult literacy programs and also for their children, elementary schools, primary school access, high school, etc. And unsurprisingly, at the beginning of our work, we did a baseline survey, and that we found that literacy levels were very low, particularly amongst women, because again, they often had even less access to education than boys. But what we found is that there's a real passion, and as I said earlier, the kind of drive behind establishing elementary schools comes from the communities. They prioritise it in their plan. And I could give an example of a community at Samogu, which is one of the areas in Yelia LLG in Obura Wananara district, where the community allocated land using a legal process, so the land is allocated to a school. They've built elementary school classrooms, they've built teachers' houses. They even attracted back from town young people with the appropriate level of education to come and start off as volunteer teachers in those elementary classrooms. And they're also now working with the Division of Education to identify training opportunities for those young people to become elementary teachers. And the latest I heard, they're establishing a FODE centre within Samogu to provide access for that. So, the energy and the passion and the real work of this comes from our partners, and our role really is to bring in some of the understanding around the organic law and how it can work. But yeah, we see some significant things happening around literacy at the moment. Yeah.
The Integrated Community Development Projects approach centres around building an enabling environment for rural service delivery by facilitating ward development planning, capacity and awareness, brokering linkages between government, community and local organisations, and modelling ways to support and deliver services and community development activities as identified in ward plans. The public service in the districts of Papua New Guinea, the local level governments and even the provinces have long been criticised for being ineffective. In response to this comment, this is what Open Member for Obura Wananara had to say.
Public machinery is very tough at the moment, given the scenario that public service sector has been lacking in a lot of implementation. But when I confine that into my district, in the JDP and BPC budget, that we appropriate whatever that money that we have for priority projects. What we do is we tie up the principal project officers, the PPOs of each sectors. We have a committee that sets like a district project management team. So we get them, we tie them into those projects. So what I do is I approach each sector, and I display its appropriation that I have allocated to each sector, and I assign them to go ahead and carry out appropriate development framework within those sectors that they need. So I involve them in actual development of the project. In that way, we tie all of us from the political administration, from the district administration, and even from the local government administration. So all is tied. So we have a sort of each one having their own share to carry out the project. So in that way we amalgamate and we go into a whole scope of that project being implemented, so that there is a completion, there is a tangible outcome at the end of the day. So that's how I involve the different sector heads to. I don't do it on my own as a political head of the district, and I said, okay, this is my policy, political ambitions, political policies, and all these things. I tie in with the district administration, so everything from one end to the other end, all at least merged for the outcome and for the development of our people in the district.
I think that one of the things that NGOs are quite good at doing sometimes is working with communities, and what we have tried to do is to help strengthen the linkages between government and communities. So work with government to support them to be engaging with the ward development committees, which are the lowest level of government. We've brought together key groups. So where a community has prioritised, for example, law and justice in their plan, we've worked with the local level government to allow them to bring in the village court secretariat to provide support for training, etc. there. We've also provided some capacity building, basically training around the ward development plan process and around the consolidation process at the LLG level, and then work closely with our partners around consolidation at the district level. And as I say, that once that support is provided, the leadership very much is taken on by our government counterparts. Mm-hmm. I think that one of the things that is really quite visible now is you quite frequently get government officers moving around the wards, moving around the LLGs, working with people. It might be a sectoral officer like an education officer or a health officer. It might be an LLG officer. And that engagement is increasing now. The ward development committees keen to understand, the priorities from their plan. How is that consolidated at the LLG level, and the support that they might bring to those priorities. Are there areas of support also that can come either from the LLG or from, for example, DPI or another group such as that? So we do see a lot happening in the district. As Mera just mentioned, he's got a fantastic team and they're very active and they're getting out. And actually in some areas of the country you don't see that so much. You go to remote areas and you rarely see government officers. So I think that's a change. There are also a number of things that have happened. Recently I was reading a report where, and I think that was from actually last year, at that point 18 new elementary schools had been established, and support has come from the Division of Education, but communities have allocated land and identified teachers to come in and provide support there. Currently one of the areas that has been supported by the administration at the district level and through Mera's leadership, and also actually through the Governor's leadership and the Provincial Administrator, is an initiative to build rural footbridges. And a number of communities in quite remote areas have large rivers that they have to get across in order to get their produce to market or to access key services. And they prioritised rural infrastructure and these iron swing footbridges. And one of those was established recently in Andacombe, and there's currently a process of 7 more that are being built around the district. So there are quite a lot of things happening as well as a result of this organic law in action.
We are now looking into establishing some of the schools within the district level. It's so remote and geographically it's very hard to access, but what we can do, we are planning to do something at least to educate the women folks. We've already established adult literacy to work among the women and also the churches, and we've identified, and this year we're going into supporting the church, various churches that they are doing adult literacy to allow people to access to at least read and write in whatever little capacity they have to understand some of the basic things of development and some of the basic things in life.
Gender equality and involving women in the decision-making process is not only an issue that is being addressed on the national level. What's most important is to see these changes occur within Papua New Guinea's districts. For the Care PNG project in Eastern Highlands, they are seeing some positive changes.
For care, gender equality is a very, very important thing. In Papua New Guinea, as in many parts of the world, there is inequality between men and women. And what care knows globally is that the more equal men and women are, the better off everybody is in society. The reason for that is, and this is about men not losing out, it's actually about supporting women to become empowered to be more equal to men. Because where women have better access to education and resources and other things, they use that to support their families and their communities. So really, the idea of gender equality is very much a win-win result for everybody. And so Care works hard with our partners to help everybody to see this. Now, this doesn't involve just working with women and girls, it very much involves working with men as well and with leaders to see the benefits of this for the community. And what we find is that people see this and actually there are some strong results. And as Mera said earlier, increasing numbers of girls are accessing education, and the elementary schools that I mentioned earlier, 18 schools, they have, I think it's more or less equal male and female students going to them. And another area that we've been really pleased to see is that across Burrawananara district, at the beginning there were no female members of the ward development committees, and the last time we surveyed this, 36% of the ward development committee members were female, more than 80 across the district. And that's a first stage really, because it shows that there is acceptance that women can have a role in decision making. People can understand that in decision making at that important body, it's really important to have a woman's perspective as well, because they understand a lot about the social issues, they understand about education and health, etc., and they can bring that to that body. And in the ward planning work that was carried out, we were keen to try and provide some gender training to help people to see the value of the roles of men and women and what they can both bring to decision making, etc. And the other thing is that it is actually a legal requirement. According to the organic law, at least 2 members of the Ward Development Committee should be female. So it's a first step. What we want to see is the women really being able to represent their priorities also at that level. And I think there will be further work to happen in the future around that, but it's really encouraging to see the way that communities have responded to that. Yeah.
Having a woman partake in the decision making has elevated the level of living in the society. Men tend to respect women and seeing them as decision makers. Last year at least we have some women council being elected, so they're also in the council assembly. So we have seen a lot of change that is taking place in terms of women and men contributing towards the development. So the idea of having established, structured, and have at least a pathway that becomes a blueprint for us at the highest management level to see whatever things that is needed within the ward level to carry out some of the priority projects. So we've engaged in a lot of priority projects with the district has focused on for the next 2 to 3 years. We may not complete it within a year or so, but as it goes by, as years goes by, we are determined and we are confident that we will get the projects into completion stage.
We're really fortunate to have the partners that we've got, and I'd just like to thank Mera for his vision as the member in the district, and what he brings to the process of the organic law in the district, and the support that he's given to key priorities. And yeah, just to reflect again on the importance of women's leadership, and we're very fortunate in Eastern Highlands to have a woman governor as well, with Honourable Julie Say.
And that concludes this edition of Olsem Wanem. We'll be following the Integrated Community Development Project in the months to come, and we'll share with you the positive impacts created for the rural communities, not just in Obura Wananara, but in the Menyama district in Marba province and the Gumani district in Simbu province. For all the LLGs and districts around the nation who would like more information on this type of project, please contact us via the details showing on your screen. Thank you for your comments and suggestions. Keep them coming in. Don't forget to add us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, please take care and enjoy the rest of your viewing on your #1 station, MTV.